Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of the scruffy-looking nerf herders. This is a live streaming YouTube vidcast by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans, and in this special retrospective episode, we are joined by our friend Aden, and we're going to discuss the prequel trilogy.
Are all of our favorite shows.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Jar Jar is the best, or something.
Misa think so.
I mean, okay, so I will just go out on a limb and say he's not the worst character anymore because of Niku. Like, Niku's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Wars.
Right.
What the hell's a Niku?
Star Wars Resistance.
You don't know,
cartoon.
so you're very lucky.
Yeah, it was a cartoon.
Oh yeah, no. The only out of the trilogies I've been watching is The Mandalorian, and I'm still on season 1.
Oh wow.
How?
Season 2 is much better.
Huh?
Season 2 is much better for Mandalorian.
When I first got into it, I started moving, so I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get back to it later. But now I forgot what the fuck was happening, so I think I'm gonna have to start the whole thing over again.
Oh damn, that's
Darn
awful.
I just want to see if the guy in the helmet's hot.
I mean, it's Pedro Pascal. You saw Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, I watched that last year.
He was got
a mustache.
What was it called? The Viper. He fought the Mountain. He was like into boys and girls, all about the love. He was awesome.
Ooh, oh my god, him?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh my god.
Clutch the pearls. No, he's good people.
All right.
Okay,
Vapors over here.
We'll get into the Mandalorian some other day. Today, we're talking about the prequels. Now, I always find it really important to go back and try to set the stage for people, because we live in a post-sequel era when people, and this was years ago that the prequels came out. I mean, it was 1999 when Phantom Menace was released. And so people...
When I was in elementary school.
Ugh.
I mean, people fail to realize... what it was like in the time. So there was the original trilogy, and there was just a vacuum. There was nothing, no Star Wars or anything. As far as we knew, Star Wars told its story, and it was about ostensibly, it was about Luke Skywalker saving his dad, and that was kind of it. And we thought it was done, and if you really loved the universe, you got into some books or some comics or maybe some role-playing games, definitely the video games, but that was kind of all there was. And then we learned that George Lucas was going to go back and talk about the rise of Darth Vader. And so when we think of the context of the prequels, we really have to think of it in terms of this is a space opera about the rise of the greatest villain that cinema, one of the greatest villain, if not the greatest villain that cinema ever delivered to audiences. And so it's a lot to try to take into 3 different films. And because we only got them every 2 or 3 years, there was a lot of speculation between each film, and it wasn't this sequence where you can just go onto Disney Plus now, watch all 3 in 6 hours, and be done with it. So it was a completely different contextual experience watching these films in the time. And so let's start from that point. Just the basic concept of the purpose of these was to explain how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. Aden, do you think that was successful at all? You didn't after watching all of them, you didn't understand how he became Darth Vader?
I don't know how a faceless juggernaut became a faceless juggernaut, because I'm scared about dreams I'm having.
Oh, come on.
This woman I haven't seen in 15 years might be being tortured on a planet on the other side of the galaxy.
Hey,
that's not fair.
It's not just that. Also, the lady that molested him, like, he was having bad dreams about her too. Like, he is an emotionally scarred individual. He was taken away from his family, never knew his dad. He was a fucking slave, and then he got molested.
Where's this molestation coming into play?
What's that?
But he married his molester, therefore it's okay. And she was a woman, which makes it, and she was like a 15-year-old queen.
Right.
So
she was 16.
In contemporary politics, it's okay if the woman's older in a position of authority to hurt a little boy.
Unless you're a teacher, and then the classmates will high-five you, but everyone else will clap you in irons.
Yeah.
Do they, though? But anyway, it's another topic.
Okay. I didn't
I
catch the
don't-
whole molestation part of this.
I get what Lucas was trying to do
Right.
with Anakin's story. It just failed miserably. There was no story with him and his mother, and you know, Cameron says that, well, you know, he was raised as a slave. Well, he didn't seem to mind when he was racing those fucking god awful things across the planet.
They're
Right.
pod racers, sir.
Whatever.
Well, especially when he's a kid, because he has no
Those are fucking
context for anything else. Like, all he knows as a little kid, like, what do we remember as our little kid lives? You know, I mean, our parents would send us into the garden to work in the garden or do yard work for 8 hours. That was slavery. I mean, you know, we didn't get paid. I don't know.
Got his room and board.
I mean, that's well, I
I'm just
guess,
saying,
you know,
as a
slaves
little
got-
kid, he wouldn't fully grasp the slavery concept, but it is a huge stepping stone in a reflective mind, you know, as a teenager, when you're sort of disgruntled anyway, and you're thinking about, you know, woe is me. Well, woe is me. I was a damn slave. So,
Well, that's the other thing. Where did his in the Clone Wars? Where did his woke you know, his woe come from? Like, all of a sudden we have this little boy who's all excited to become a Jedi Knight, and then in the next movie he's a whiny little teenager.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. This boy had like no he had nothing to come over except people saying you have too much fear in you. Like there was no arc to Darth Vader except dreams. Oh, and don't forget,
Whoa.
like, the 10 minutes of sunsets. The
Okay.
10 minutes of sunsets.
No. So we understand that, you know, for all the Star Wars films, there's years gap between each of them. Between episode 1 and 2, there was 10 years. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff that has happening in 10 years that they can't go into if they're going to try to wrap it all up in three movies.
Sure. But you make a note of it in conversation, in exposition. There between, okay, in A New Hope, Luke was a whiny little bitch. Of course he was a whiny little bitch. Who wasn't a whiny little bitch when their uncle's bossing them around? You're not my daddy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But between Empire Strikes Back and Return from the Jedi, in Return from the Jedi, we get in exposition through conversation how he grew, and same in Return from the Empire Strikes Back. We didn't see the years gaps, but we got tastes of how he developed as a character and the missions in between and all the things they had to go through. You can get jack shit in the prequels. George Lucas is not a good filmmaker.
Whoa. He's definitely not a good
okay,
writer for dialogue. I'll agree with that. And he's not a great director, but he's definitely.
So what's he good at? You know, I looked.
You
up
can do
his
the script.
filmography.
You
The
can
man
create
hasn't
the
really done all
world.
that
Like, there's a
much.
lot more to it than just dialogue.
He is
And
great at screenplays.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
production.
Kiss my ass, Cameron. No, he isn't.
first of all, I mean, we can't downplay the fact that he revolutionized filmmaking. So whether or not he was the best at it, he was the pioneer in it. And that's why we have other shows to benchmark against him to say that he did badly, because he was the one inventing the technology at the time. And he did that in every single one.
He's just like any of the other greats. Like, it's not, I mean, we have like the singular name to look at, but George Lucas is nothing without his team. I mean, just like Spielberg, just like Cameron, like there's a man, but there's a huge team behind the man that the man champions. And that's, you know, how we got what we got.
Yeah.
Sure, the director's the head of the ship.
Yeah.
But there's still a ship behind him. So where was that team for the prequels? Because it sucked.
Well, it's interesting because that first film, he pretty much had total control of everything. I mean, he was financing it majorly by himself. He was doing everything. He did the screenwriting. He did all the directing. I mean, and producing. It was all him. And when he presented it to his partners, they were just like, oh boy, what did you do? Oh no.
You ever seen a documentary about the prequels and like nothing could get approved? Not even down to like the models for the CGI without his personal approval. I'm like,
Well, that's how he's
This
always.
man needs to get fisted. That's his problem.
You got to ease into that.
Clear that shit out. You know, like Fiber can't help this man.
I mean, it's his baby. I can definitely understand wanting to have total control, and here's the other side of this: is that these films were made for a very specific demographic every single time, and so adds
People with Down syndrome, yes,
and extra chromosomes.
I'll stop you right there. Here's the problem, Adam. Like Aden and I were the target demographic. Like I was a child when that shit came out.
Well, they're for like 11-year-old boys. Like that's the demo.
Yeah.
You were an 11-year-old boy when Prequel came out?
Yeah. 99, I would have been what, 12, 13? Like I was a little kid. That's what and even as a child, like the most like the thing that it failed for me, like the whole trilogy, was I didn't get what that first poster promised, where you have, you know, little fucking Anakin walking into the hut with Vader shadow behind. Like that's a striking fucking poster. I was excited staring at that for 6 months, year, whatever, how long it had been out. Because of course, theaters were way different back then. I never got that, like ever. Even in Revenge of the Sith, when we actually get to see Vader, I still didn't get that menacing, holy fuck transformation.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
A man never had a tragedy. He didn't.
Oh my gosh! Come on, his mom died.
He had dreams.
His mom literally died in his arms.
I fucking got over
15 years of not seeing her.
It's still his mom. What is it, like diminish?
No.
Okay.
I mean, come on, Luke. Luke had a greater tragedy than his father. He comes home after an afternoon out with some crazy hippie wizard.
Yeah.
Right? He comes home. His house is destroyed. The only family he has ever had is gone. And now he's just left with this crazy hippie witch in the desert.
He should have been Vader.
Oh, that
hippie witch Kenobi.
To disappear and become a blue ghost with some Kermit the Frog out in the fucking marsh.
Wow.
By the way, I do love Star Wars.
Right, I can tell.
Oh yeah, you sound like a Star Wars fan, of course.
Well, I want to address
the thing about Star Wars fans. We love it so much, we fucking hate it.
But
I love you, but I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah,
it's the thing that. So I rewatched the prequels, and they were better after the 6th time I saw them. So
it's called Stockholm
Because every
syndrome.
now and then you want to give something another chance, or you want to get an opportunity to get into Adam's pants when, you know, I'm driving out to Oregon and I stop off in Utah.
You better.
So I will. Depending on how far I get into your pants. But anyway, so rewatching it again made me appreciate more what he was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what pissed me off even more, I thought it would be a lot of other things that I didn't like about the prequels that would make me even more angry. But it was just like, this guy got a hold of a new toy and no one stopped him. So like to Adam's point that he spearheaded technology that was unknown in the 70s and early 80s, that people called him crazy for. And so he tried to do it again with the CGI.
Yeah.
But you see, like, you know, there's a few camps. Some people hate CGI, some people love it. I'm in the middle where it's a great tool. You just can't do everything with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, he tried to do everything with it. George Lucas's accomplishment with the prequels is he turned really good actors. Even the guy who played Anakin in the last 2 of the prequels, I thought he was a shit actor until I saw him in other movies. And I was like, wow, he's actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
George Lucas did such a bad job. He turned spectacular actors into terrible ones.
Yeah.
And it was...
That goes to writing and directing, yeah. I mean...
Which he did. So they're just shit, Adam. They're shit. See the light, Adam.
Here's the thing, is I definitely see what you're saying, and I agree that his direction of the story made it worse for his involvement. That's why Empire is so great, is because he had very little directing involvement, if any at all. He,
That
you know,
was very
passed it
cursory.
off. So, and even the
script.
writing,
He
he
didn't
was,
write the script.
yeah, I mean,
All he did was write the stories.
Yeah.
Except for A New Hope, he had a bigger say in A New Hope.
right. I mean, he developed the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, that's where his strength is the world building, not the technical aspect of actually directing and writing. So I definitely understand the complaints about that, but I overlook that because I think that the greater theme and the greater story being told is actually of value. And I do think that Anakin went through some serious character arc. You know, you can't always fill in the gap from, 8 years old to 18 years old because there's not a whole lot that goes on, especially when he's just training. But you start the second episode with him and Obi-Wan Kenobi bantering about a conflict of running into a lair of Gundarks and how Anakin saved Obi-Wan from it. So we start from a position of this is an exceptionally talented child. And preceding it was episode 1, where it was saying that he was this promise of the chosen one. So there's a huge amount of weight on this kid from go that you have to be perfect in everything you do because you are a god. And he is excelling in that for the most part in all of his activities as a apprentice and as a fledgling Jedi. But then the Order themselves are constantly talking down to him. The Jedi Masters, like Mace Windu specifically, and then Yoda backing it up, constantly talking down to him, said, you're not ready, you're not good enough, we don't think you're right for this, you need to sit on the sideline. So he's getting mixed messages saying that you're a savior and you're just not good enough. And he's trying to reconcile that in his psyche, and he just can't fucking do it. Coupling that with these immense powers that are giving him night terrors about his mom dying, about the future of just death of everyone that he loves. And he finally gets to that stage of finding those horny emotions that we all know totally overtake all of your life once they kick in. And now he's got to like deal with all of that in addition to everything else of expectation. He is incapable. He doesn't have anyone trying to help him through it. Even Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, shut up, sit down, get in line. No one is giving him, and that's why Duel of the Fate was such an important theme in the end of the first episode, which Dave Filoni expounded on perfectly. Because it was, if Qui-Gon Jinn raised him as a Jedi, he would have given him the support and the time and attention he needed. But since it was Obi-Wan Kenobi who was not prepared, it set him up on a path of failure. And so that's why that was such an important moment in the entire saga. It's the future of Anakin, and we saw how it played out because of that event.
All right, so all of what you said is what you pulled out of inference from maybe a handful of moments out of 2 movies. That's how bad they were.
Well, that in the books.
I don't even remember that guy's name. What was it? Darth Maul. Who the fuck was Darth Maul, for one? Who the fuck was he? He wasn't a character. I mean, Darth Vader was barely a character until like the end of the second movie. But anyway.
You're right. As far as the movies go, he just came out of nowhere. Like no one knew anything about him.
Yeah. Right. But then again, the Phantom Menace was attributed to Palpatine. But anyway, there was no drama with Anakin. You mentioned a moment where Obi-Wan and Anakin are talking, and Obi-Wan's like, I can't believe I'm talking about this. And Obi-Wan is like, you saved me from yada, yada, yada. It would have been better. This is just a general fan complaint. When it comes to Jedi training, you barely see any except concentrating on floating rocks and walking into a cave to confront a ghost. It's like, okay, so you're meditating, you're floating rocks, and you're dropping acid. You understand?
Yeah.
So I thought
all we got was that
real big missed opportunity. Yeah. What about all the people who trained with Anakin? That would have been a great opportunity to see other people being like, oh, well, I thought he was a chosen one. Yeah. Or he's such a fucking arrogant prick. or him even demonstrating his arrogance beyond being a whiny child in front of Yoda, going, "I want to do more because you told me I was like," no, bitch, no, none of them told that to his face that he was the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
When did anyone in those movies ever tell him he was the chosen one to his face?
Obi-Wan at the end after he cut him up.
You were the chosen one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end,
you don't think anyone ever mentioned that to him throughout the whole course of everything? Like, of course they did.
On screen?
No.
Then it didn't happen.
See, and that's where I think, because it's impossible to tell those complete stories. You have to give a little bit as an audience member, you know, a little bit like going like, okay, well, we know this probably would have happened.
I gave a lot to Anakin when he, because not only did I masturbate to him in 5th grade, or actually when the second one came out, 7th grade.
7th grade, wow.
Yeah, you're old, Adam. It's okay.
Old, dude.
I know your pecs are dropping, but you know, like, it's just...
Gonna boost you.
So anyway, we never really see any of this amazing abilities Anakin has besides nightmares. Ooh, he had scary dreams of a woman. I gotta go back to this. Yeah. He's having scary dreams about a woman he hasn't seen in 15 years. That's his drama. That's his dilemma.
Okay, but it's all about framing. Well, so you're saying
he's giving him what he wants.
What?
Nobody's giving him what he wants.
Yeah.
Anakin?
I'm the chosen one. I need respect. Oh, man, I need to be a master.
Killing me.
And he wasn't getting mixed signals from the council. One, you are assuming that everyone is telling him he's the chosen one, which again, rewatching it, I didn't see. We know that. Other characters know that. I don't see anyone pressuring him to be better except that he's arrogant. I'm like, well, when the fuck did that happen? No one's mentioned, like, you've been childish ever since that one training or that one mission, or like, give me some background. We went from this optimistic little boy to we have this optimistic little boy to a teenage girl. Like, he's a fucking valley girl in the second one.
You know what? It happens.
He's a kid. You know? I mean,
I told you we can't talk about Adam on the air.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Not like that, anyway.
That'll be the retrospective late night.
Late night. Bzz, bzz, like neon glow.
And another thing, the fucking midi-chlorians.
Right.
Ugh.
You don't like that.
There's a reason they were only mentioned in one movie.
Because people here's the thing. I was stationed in Germany in the U.S. Army when the first film Phantom Menace came out, and I went to the theater and watched it. And I was a lifelong fan. I played the role-playing games, played the video games, read books, comics, and everything. I went to it and I watched the film, and I was excited going into it. I was incredibly excited coming out of it. I didn't think anything about it. And then when I got back to the States in college, I watched the second film, and didn't have any problems. Watched the third one, had no problems. And it wasn't until the sequel trilogy came out that I ever found out people had a problem with midi-chlorians or the prequels at all. I had no idea because I wasn't tuned into the internet at that time about what people were freaking out about. I just, as a film goer, I was like, this is George Lucas's vision. It's his story. I'm going to ride whatever train he writes because that's his story. I don't have any preconceptions of what it should have been, just only what he told me it was. And I accepted it. So I didn't understand.
Yeah, amazing. Everything you just said is wrong.
It's all what happened. So Cameron, what do you mean?
So the first one, I was 12, 13, something like that when that came out. So, I enjoyed it for what I can remember, but it was also kind of like, this is the same shit like Empire Strikes Back, right? Okay. All right, I'll accept it. The second one, I honestly don't remember seeing it in theaters. Like, it is that unmemorable of a movie for me.
Wow.
Now, I like it now. I can admit that. Like, especially just like the Battle of Geonosis, like the giant stadium thing. Like, that's pretty fucking cool.
It was the first time we saw a bunch of Jedi at once fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That
fucking
was
cool.
cool.
And then you get to see Jango get decapitated. Like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I don't remember. I mean, granted, there's drugs and all that shit, so that's probably a little bit of. But I remember other things on drugs, so I should remember it. But yeah, seeing that third one, like, so kids back in the day used to have to wait in line to see movies, and you would have to hope you could get a seat, and you sat wherever the fuck you were allowed because you didn't pre-order seats.
Right.
So this is 2005. I'm standing in line. This thing is wrapping around the entire fucking building for the first screening. Like, I am surrounded by stormtroopers. I fucking just every fucking nerd in the States there. Like, it's a big deal. We're all going in like, yeah, this is gonna be it. They're gonna fucking wrap it up. We're gonna see Vader. This is gonna be awesome. All of us pretty much had the same reaction at the end. No, it's like, what the fuck did you do? Why did you do that?
Oh.
Yeah, no one in that screening was happy.
Wow. I had such a completely different experience.
That's because you were bored on a fucking base in Germany. That's what I've been
not for that third
about.
one.
Well,
man.
So wait a minute. Your attitude, besides being bored and horny on a base in Germany, and you just swallowing anything you could, I mean movies, was, oh, well, it's George Lucas's story, so I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What else would you do as a film goer? I don't understand that. Did you walk out of Alien going, why didn't they explain where the xenomorph came from? There was no arc for the xenomorph. No, it was just a fucking movie.
No, there wasn't. That's why these follow-ups are also shit. Fuck you, Ridley Scott. You suck.
Oh my God.
You, sir, need to watch your tongue. Actually, no, I want. We're so fucking
listen,
awful.
I'm with you, Cameron. That battle scene was cool, and there were a few other epic battle scenes in the prequels. They were awesome. This is my taste, though, is story. Right. I want a competent, good, thought-out story. Like, to put it this way, one of my favorite movies is around an hour and a half, and it's 6 people sitting in a room talking. Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite movies because the conversation is so compelling that you feel like all this crazy shit is happening when it's really just 6 fucking college professors sitting in a room. Mm-hmm. So when it's any movie I look for, or any movie I'm into, or any series, if I don't get at least a somewhat competent story, I'm fucking pissed. You can blind these other faggots with your special effects and your new toys. You didn't tell me a story. You didn't explain shit. Fuck you.
That's the awful part, because I'm that fucking idiot that's just like, ooh, bright colors, flashing lights and lasers. And even I was like, can we have some more something? Can we take it down a notch? Can we make it feel real? Like, I guess that's probably one of my biggest complaints with this trilogy, is it doesn't feel real. Like, especially nowadays, like watching it on a 4K TV. God, you can tell that they're all on like just a giant green set.
Yeah.
And it just
a little unfair. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry. How long ago?
20 years.
Yeah.
Keep going.
22. Yeah.
What, for Phantom Menace?
Yeah, it was
22. What? Again, come on. 1-2 years. We're not talking about Adam's tits.
But yeah, it's just, man, it was rough. Like, it's just, like as time goes on, it just gets harder and harder to watch them because of how bad that is and how just not real it is. Like, say what you will about the prequels or the sequels. Right. Like, I kind of like them, but I'm not like, whoa, these are awesome. That is one thing that they have over this, is it feels real. Like, there's shit there. There's actual shadows. There's actual lights bouncing off.
Oh, that's stuff. Not fair. I mean, it's a different.
Yeah, they knew how to use CGI. Lucas got a new toy. He wanted to be the first. He wanted to pioneer it.
Oh, he did. Yeah, yeah.
And no one could tell him, "Hey, it's not there yet.
Yeah,
You can't do it.
Right. It's almost like Peter Jackson and the Frighteners, which I still love that movie, but it does not
Never
hold
seen
up.
it.
I saw it when it came out, but I don't remember it.
It's fucking Jeffrey Combs is fantastic in it.
Let me bring this up about the concept of the trilogies really quick, because I think it does have a bit of bearing on how we perceive them. Because the original trilogy, we knew nothing, we had no expectation, it just came out. When the prequels came out, because there was so much buildup, it wasn't like we were wondering what was going to happen. We already knew where it was going to end. And so everything that was happening, we were judging against what already happened. So there was none of that speculation about, ooh, I wonder if the little child is going to grow up and be a good boy or not. We knew who he was going to end up growing up to be. We knew all of the major story beats, how they were going to end. And so if it didn't land exactly the way we already had it in our head, well, then we're going to judge it unfairly. Whereas with the original trilogy and the sequels, when they were coming out, we had no expectation. We had no idea. It was all pure speculation and pure conjecture. So when it did come out differently, it was a surprise and a shock rather than a broken expectation. Do you think that's a fair way of characterizing it?
No.
No buzzing with you.
I mean, I agree.
I am militant about these prequels.
God damn.
Like, say what you will about the Saw series. The first 4 had a wonderful, consistent storyline.
Mm-hmm.
As convoluted as it was, it actually made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then fucking Lucas, with all this god fucking money, he couldn't tell the story of how the little boy turned out to be a heartbroken juggernaut in the galaxy. Like, that's got to be one of the easiest stories to tell. The Greeks did it thousands of years ago all the time. Steal something. You know what it was? Palpatine. Palpatine got more exposition. Palpatine made more sense than Anakin Skywalker. And he was just assumed to be bad.
Well, that's why it made sense, because he had no movement.
He was a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, he had literally no arc. He started the exact same place he ended. He was the
and yet he
guy
felt like
everything.
He did. His pursuit of power. Palpatine felt like he had an arc. A senator from some pacifist, pretty planet that elects 14-year-old girls to rule them. So that, they're a bunch of fucking retards with frogs in the lake.
Didn't the Romans let children on the throne? Weren't they like 14?
And who elects queens?
Caesars?
What is that?
Right.
There's a lot of civilizations that were ruled by women.
No. Who elects a queen? Their queens were elected, and they elected 14-year-olds. It was a planet of pedophiles. That's what it was. So,
freaking Naboo has a whole different look.
Right? I'm going to rewrite the Phantom.
It's all ankle bracelets and...
So wait, but Palpatine had a far better arc than Anakin Skywalker. You see him go from this like grandpa, good-natured, innocent Naboo senator to manipulating everybody to becoming the ruler of the first Galactic Republic.
Right.
In a way that almost tempts the audience. Like, Lucas was good on that point. He kind of tempts the audience the entire time to root for Palpatine.
Yeah.
Until the third movie, where you're kind of like, maybe?
He's got a point, but he's kind of
you gotta say, like, the guy who's supposed to be pure evil, power obsessed, modeled off of Hitler and Mussolini. I'm like, this dude gets the story. Not the lovable little boy who turns into the guy I want to fuck in a Vader suit. Like, not him.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got a thing for
she
amputees?
dies of a broken heart. Pat dies of a, what is this? Well, it is a Disney movie now. Okay, this makes sense. All right.
It was
always supposed to be over the
takeover.
It was always supposed to be an over-the-top drama. Like, that's the point. It's a soap opera.
The originals and I'm with Cameron on the sequel trilogy. Like, I liked it, but yeah.
It was garbage.
You, sir, have zero room to talk.
No,
with your
no. I totally...
with your shit.
We
about
already
the
did the sequel trilogy though. Let's focus.
No, I know, but I had a point with that. But anyway, it was I get that it was over the top. The original trilogy was over the top. The sequel trilogy was over the top, but they were over the top in an actually dramatic way. The prequels kind of ham-handed you drama. Again, I'm having nightmares. I'm dying of a broken heart. Why? Because he's on a lava planet? Bitch, all you know is some old dude ran into your room, said he killed a bunch of kids.
She saw it on him. He choked her out. Like, he literally attacked her.
After she accused...
Wait,
what did she...
Who
Sometimes
hasn't
you gotta
choked
do
out
it.
their significant other?
Sometimes they ask for it.
Well, true, but she did. But it, like, come on, he couldn't have killed her in like blind rage, like beat the shit out of her or something.
Yeah.
That would have been drama. Like, he's just so consumed with his own rage and narcissism that he beats the shit out of. Let's go with this line that Lucas was trying to do, that it was his pursuit of love, and from the Jedi perspective, his pursuit of passion and attachment and all that. That was his fall to the dark side. Which, again, you know, fuck the Jedi. Without passion and attachment, fuck these hippies.
Right.
So
I agree.
Right? Sith. Sith. Yeah. You're a Satanist. You're a Sith.
Sith forever.
Should be in the Bible. Anyway. So it was like, you turned on me. He even sounded like a whining cunt when he was doing it.
I do think like, some of those deliveries were strange, and I don't think it was the actor's choice. Like, I think he was forced.
They're all fantastic actors, and even the girl who played Padme, when I saw her in Black Swan, she blew my mind.
Yeah. Oh my
God,
she's
great.
He's digging that.
Black Swan. Oh,
that movie is so fucked up. I love it.
So good.
But anyway, yeah, it was the acting was delivery. I'm sorry, it was wooden. And I don't think that's the actor's fault, but it was just, there was no drama, Adam. I don't know what you're talking about.
I disagree. It was like every soap opera I've ever accidentally watched that people
Why? Because there's a lot of sunsets?
No, because there's a lot of sort of ridiculous setup that you're just supposed to kind of accept. And, you know, because it's trying to tell a story, it's giving you all this strange setup. So, you know, for example, all of the really bad romantic dialogue on Naboo when he's supposed to be saving her and they're actually falling in love in those moments. Really bad setup, really bad execution, like every soap opera ever. But you know what they're trying to do, so you're just like, all right, well, fucking just move on because I know what you're getting at. You don't need to hold my hand the whole time. You know, but they still do the whole thing about cutting the pear and riding the fucking fat cow beast and, you know, all those stupid little scenes. No need to do that. We get it. You could just move on, but he didn't. And so we just have to sit through it. So I forgive those executions because I know it's supposed to be kind of hokey and over the top, you know, opera, drama, soap opera thing. But I sit through it and I accept it because I actually really love the lore underneath it all. What's that?
Nothing. You know, soap operas are bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't. First of all, we can't judge. Like, that's like people who hate horror films and say, I don't like this horror film because it's bad. Well, no, it's a horror film. You have to judge it on its merits. So you can't go into a soap opera expecting something else and then judge it on that expectation. You have to judge it on the merits of what it actually is, right?
But you're contradicting yourself because you're using one genre and using it to justify the shittiness in another.
Because you're complaining that it's supposed to be a soap opera, which sucks. But then all soap operas suck.
That's like saying the Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, sucks because it wasn't Rosemary's Baby. I'm sorry, no, that's a bad example. No,
No, that's
actually,
a
it's a
pretty
great
good
example.
example.
They're
Yeah,
both
that's really good.
horror, but one is slasher and one is psychological.
Mhm.
There's different standards. These are sci-fi dramas,
Right.
not something bored housewives watch to masturbate at 3 p.m.
That's fair. That's fair.
There was, it would have been, I was hoping that when I rewatching, as I got older, watching the second one again, Attack of the Clones, that when he was like, "Oh, I'm so excited, you know, I haven't seen her in so long. I've been thinking about her ever since." I rolled my eyes and I was like, who hasn't had that childhood crush? You know, who hasn't had that?
Yep.
And I was hoping that they would connect over, like, Padme maybe saying, "I think it's unfair that the Jedi can't do this, can't do that." Like, we see him being swayed away from the rigorous and dogmatic line of thinking that the Jedi hold, and that being his first step towards the dark side. And maybe Obi-Wan, when Anakin tries to like, well, why don't the Jedi do things like that? Obi-Wan explains it to him because it's too tempting, it's too dangerous to, you know, to obsess about one thing, one person, when that's not what our religion is about. And maybe that, and then mirror that with Palpatine, where he's like, "Oh no, passion's great. You should love someone who loves you and cares about you." And like, I was hoping for a setting of the stage.
Right.
I didn't get that. They just, like you said, they rode fucking horses and then they stared at sunsets.
Yeah.
Again, what is it with those fucking sunsets, man? It was like a 10-minute scene.
What I thought was interesting was that the whole time Padme was like overtly like shitting on him. You know, the whole time she's like, "He's just a Padawan learner. You know, I'm from this planet. You need to listen to me. You know, you need to calm down and take a back seat." And the whole time he's trying to overcome this, you know, shitty opinion of himself from her by overcompensating because he's a stupid kid. He doesn't fucking know any better yet. And then finally they actually make these really, you know, great connections, and they find that connective tissue of love. And she's like, "We can't do this. This is against your order." And he's trying to justify. He's like, "Well, you could say we're supposed to be passionate because blah, blah, blah." He's trying to make excuses for it. And the whole time she is the voice of reason trying to keep him on his Jedi path. And then once they're facing the entrance to the arena in the second episode, she turns to him. She's like, "I can't take it anymore. We're going to die. I have to let you know that everything that I've been doing because I thought it was for the best, but that's not how I was actually feeling." And now he's like, "Holy fuck, this whole time you've been madly in love with me and you've been treating me like a redhead stepchild? Fuck!" And now he has something to live for. Now he has something to fight for, you know? Like, I thought that was really a great moment when finally she comes to terms with, I can't fight the irrational emotions that I have for you. I don't understand them. I've been trying to do what I need to do because my whole life is built around public service and doing what's right versus doing what is for me. And now I'm faced with death, and I just want to admit one little thing. It ended up being her death, admitting it, but like, I thought that was great.
To read a Hallmark card.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you, Cameron, is there any, what are the redeeming factors, if there are any, for you for the prequel trilogy?
Well, so I like it. I do. I don't care. I bitch about it, but I like it. I mean, we got introduction of new characters. The novels, which now don't count anymore because the mouse decided that all the good things are gone. Which, I mean, really, that is really what made me appreciate the prequels, was all the interstitial novels, like the little side quests with, you know, Luminara, Windu, all that shit. Like, those make those characters just so much more complex and amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I'm an idiot. I like bright colors. I like shiny lights and lasers and all that shit. And I mean, they deliver in droves with this shit. So they're great films to just turn on and shut off your brain. And that's why I can appreciate them. Like, anytime they're on TBS or whatever, we'll just, it goes on the TV and we just keep it there until, we either go to bed or, I don't feel like repeating the last movie.
You called them great films and white noise in the same breath.
Yeah, they're great.
It's great white noise.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
the
you know
best
what?
white noise.
There's a lot of television shows like that for me, and like Goosebumps. That is great. Wow. I watch that shit.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm with you. They're phenomenal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call them white noise, but I mean, I get it. I fall asleep to watching things too, but I put on like The Simpsons. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, see, I couldn't sleep to The Simpsons. I'll just keep watching until like my eyes are on fire.
Oh no, I put on episodes from like the 3rd or 4th season that I've seen 1,000 times since I was 2. Something you can. Anyway, but you just called them white noise, and Adam, your arguments suck.
That's all I got. That's how I see it. So,
like,
is
Adam,
there
I
any
care
redeeming...
about your nipples deeply, but all you're saying is, well, that's what the artist intended, so just go with it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because I can fill in the gaps. Like, I can rationally in my head, I can fill in the gaps that he never presented for whatever reason.
No, you're not. You're making up your own story to justify why you like a shitty thing that he made.
Well, the difference is I don't just watch the film. Like, I read the novels, and then, I fill in the gaps with the supplemental information. And there's the whole Clone Wars TV series that filled in tons of gaps between episode 2 and 3. And
I heard that was good.
Yeah, no, it is really good.
It's worth watching.
I never saw it, but I also know that Lucas had nothing to do with it.
No, he did.
Yeah.
No, he totally did.
What the fuck
he directed
did he do?
Dave Filoni on it.
Yeah.
Did he write any of it?
No, I think there was a different writing team, but he had to approve everything manually. Like, he has that control.
Yeah, because this was the point in time in his part of the career where, he didn't do shit except for say yeah or no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, Aden, are there any redeeming elements to this for you?
Yes. There's one scene that I love.
What is it?
It's a tragedy of Darth Plagueis.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Right.
That was like the only
great
good part of that entire trilogy. Palpatine just rocked. That actor was the only thing that was good. It was like he ignored everything that Lucas told him to do on set.
Yeah.
He was good.
I can see it.
Except when he was shooting lightning, he was like, absolute power! And I was like,
you knew that was
it's
a
Halloween
direction.
Town again.
You knew that was a direction.
I felt like I was watching Halloween Town, which was a badass movie when I was a kid. Like it was cool. I liked it. Totally down with Halloween Town. But not my Star Wars movie. The guy was wearing a prom dress. I mean, come on.
I like the over-the-top bad guys. I like it.
Sure. I mean,
snidely whiplashes.
I thought it was epic that Yoda and Palpatine fought in the Senate chamber.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. And I really liked that the Jedi fights weren't like, thankfully the technology was there that did you guys ever see this fan-made YouTube version of when Obi-Wan fought Vader?
I knew exactly where you were going. Yeah.
Right. I thought that was awesome. And I was like, if he was going to add shit in to the originals, he couldn't have added something like that. Yeah. Not just extra monsters in the back. I felt I was watching a D&D remake. But anyway. So I thought the Senate thing was awesome. Because it was just like this total I thought it brought the point home. And I liked when what's her name, Padme, was like, so this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Because I was like, yeah, that's kind of spot on.
Yeah.
I like that.
Especially in the time that it came out.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But mostly it was the story of Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Because that was like, oh, so we have a reason now for Anakin turning to the dark side. I've waited 10 years for that because I didn't get one. Mm-hmm. He was like Luke times 1,000. It was like a New Hope Luke times 1,000 for 2.5 movies.
So I feel like I've raised kids, and that's not that's a normal reaction of kids just being kids. Like there's
but
nothing
it's
strange
supposed to
about
be
that.
an opera. Dramatic, yes.
Yeah.
Realistic, whiny bitches.
Well, that's
take
why
after
they
your
go
children?
over that. You
No.
know? Like, you know, you have that stage, and so you sort of amp it up times 1,000 so that you get the point. You're like, okay, I understand what you're getting
But
at.
he needs a reason. I mean,
I thought the
your
reasons given
children
were
are
enough.
bratty. Your children are your children because they take after you. But but it's
Nice.
in a drama like what John Wilmot said, the thing he loved about the theater was that you drop a hanky in one scene, it comes back to choke you in the next. I didn't get any of that in the It's supposed to be this dramatic, operatic space this sci-fi meets mysticism thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the prequels, there was none of that. It was really bad sci-fi with a Stargate was better than the prequels.
Yeah, it was very
Stargate's just a great fucking movie, period.
It is, I agree.
Fucking nerds.
You're
a fucking nerd. Stargate's awesome.
Listen here, saggy
actually,
nipples.
Stargate is actually really fun.
Yeah, Stargate is great until
yeah, it is.
No, Stargate's just great.
It is. Yeah, 100%. I can't disagree with that.
So yeah, I know I rambled on there but the story of Darth Plagueis made it for me. I could watch that scene 100 times. I
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and the book was great too.
The book is one of the best books in the entire fucking 40 years of novels.
I never read any of the Star Wars novels.
It's a good book. It's a good book,
dude. It's
a good one.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Because I mean, if you like
Palpatine,
I say,
it's probably one of the best.
Yeah, it explains everything from the plan that Palpatine ended up enacting. It just sets it all up piece by piece, and they're experiencing the whole thing. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, and it makes them all not seem like a bitch.
Text me the title of that novel because I'm just about out of books.
It's so Darth Plagueis.
It's called Darth Plagueis.
If you can't remember that,
I think it might just be Plagueis, isn't it?
Then I drink too much.
Yeah.
Or wait,
you probably drink too much.
I'm a fucking idiot. Don't even remember what it is.
Plagueis is in the name.
Yes. It's
all
something.
Right. All right.
But okay, so yeah, for me, through all the faults, the redeeming factor is
no one asked you.
I'm asking me. Hey, Adam, what's the redeeming factors for you? Oh, thank you, Adam. By the way, you're a very attractive human. Oh, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you. Okay, so for me, the reason why I put up with all the stupidity of the prequel is because you can't not recognize the elements that really, really fail badly. It's because ultimately I love watching someone fall. Like you said, dropping a hanky and then the hanky coming back and choking you. His entire arc is based around the premise that he wants to stop people from dying because he wasn't able to save his mom's life. And so he's doing everything he can to prevent his one true love, Padme, from dying. And that is the very thing that causes her to die. The dramatic irony that is his ultimate downfall. That pays everything off for me. It makes him a tragic figure. It makes this whole thing a tragedy and a farce. And it makes it make sense rather than just thinking of, oh, it's just supposed to be an adventure where, someone ends up, starts in A and ends in B. No, he is the one person that caused his entire downfall. He was pushed a little on the way, but it was all choices he made. And there's some real dramatic irony in that I can genuinely appreciate. And it makes me appreciate the monster that he turns into by his own actions, by his own choices, by his own hands.
I'm with you. I would have loved to see that story. But I
can't believe that you didn't see that story.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't make up shit while I was watching the movie.
I didn't either. His mom dies in his hands. He says he doesn't want Padme to die. He'll do anything to stop it. And then he does go through the steps to do that, and then he kills her.
No, but that's it. We just see like these little wooden moments of characters saying the things that they have to say.
Right.
Where was his temptation? Where was his road to this wonderful dark side where you get lightning shooting out of your hands and awesome gowns?
Which he never gets.
He never got his awesome gown.
He never got the lightning. He never got the dress.
That was That was homophobia.
He got
That's
fucked.
what that was. Am I frozen?
You're not anymore. It was just for a
Okay.
second. We still heard you. It's just the hand froze. Okay, so
good.
worst moments. What was John Cameron? I don't know why I called you John. John Cameron. What was the worst moment for you in the entire trilogy of the prequels?
No.
No way. That was the worst.
I fucking every goddamn time I watch it, I want to punch a hole in a wall. I want to kick an animal. I want to cut myself. It makes me that fucking angry that I have to take it out on something. It destroyed the single scariest fucking villain we had in cinema history. Like, he was a menace. He was just the epitome of pure evil and destruction and death.
Yeah.
No! Fuck that scene.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It would have been better, like, if he had an actual arc, it would have been better if he said, well, she was a traitor. You know, like, trying to justify what he did. If he had an actual story, you know, that he had fallen so far, even the whole point of him pursuing this path, he turned on.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been
realized
great.
His own folly and trying to follow it, and he just owned the evil. That's what I really
Not
bugs
own
me.
the evil, but he was just so, because the dark side is supposed to be all about rage and passion.
Yeah.
That in his pursuit of saving his passion, that he becomes resentful of it. Well, she turned on me. She was a traitor. So to go, the no moment wasn't my worst. Like I kind of was like, all right, well, you know, Palpatine said he killed his wife, who wouldn't yell, no. I mean, not in that voice. That voice was retarded. But, you know, but I got it. It wasn't my worst one. But I thought it would have been better if he would have turned to the Emperor and just said, well, she was a traitor. She turned on me. She deserved what she got. You know, it was kind of like his path was complete. The Emperor won.
Right.
You know, he fucking won. Instead, you have this moment of no and regret. I was like, I don't need any goodness left in him. The whole point of Luke bringing him back was that his son reminded him of that passion that initially turned him to the dark side and brought him back. Mm-hmm. If anything, that was anyway. Now I'm making up my own story. That would have been. Because I would have rewritten the whole prequel and sequel trilogy to be all about the difference between the Sith and the Jedi, and that they're both full of shit. Well, there's just like this nice little middle ground.
Yeah.
Because the Force is about balance.
Yeah.
So the Jedi are just as guilty as the Sith are.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Fucking faggots all around. Anyway. So,
well, I mean, stay away from the comics and the novels that have been written since Disney took over, because they've been doing nothing but rehashing the entire Darth Vader pining after Padme as Darth Vader. It sucks. It's really frustrating.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. That Charles Schulz run, like that.
That was the first. They've done two since then.
They've done two?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
That was fucking
I wouldn't mind.
Badass.
I wouldn't, given the prequels, I wouldn't mind the Vader pining over Padme and private thing, because at least it would be consistent.
It was constant contention between him and the Emperor. The Emperor not thinking he was good enough because he kept thinking about Padme and he could sense it. And then him going and trying to recapture this moment of trying to bring her back. And that's what ruined it for me.
That is at the very least consistent, so I can get on board with it. I like weird. Stories that make sense.
Right, but to your point,
why
of
is
seeing
this
him turn in?
groundbreaking?
But you're sort of fighting with yourself there, because your complaint is that Darth Vader at the end of the third film didn't turn into the final Darth Vader that we see in Episode 4. But then you're saying that you'd be okay with the films and comics continuing that version of the Darth Vader that you're arguing with. Like, I'm trying to agree with you, saying he needs to make that switch. And before they did it in the Lord of the Sith novel, and that was it. And now they have comics, like 2 different comics. They have video games exploring it. They have a new comic that they're doing now that's continuing this struggle and fight between the Emperor and Vader and Padme's ghost. And it's just really frustrating. Like, they need to just fucking switch it. He needs to be the bad guy.
I'm not contradicting myself, because I'm accepting the story that was delivered to me that I hate and regret.
Now you sound like me.
And but these comics that were not done by Lucas,
right?
They were done by fans, are trying to make sense out of this shit show. Why? So to be dramatic, any artist is like a god. So again, a god failed, and humans have to clean up his fucking mess. So they created a bunch of fan fiction for this fucking deity who's strung up with his model wife and fixing his shit. They're like the scientists of storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't get it right the first time, so we need technology to fix this shit.
Yeah, I think if he would have, if he had given the opportunity now, knowing everything, I think he would have written different scripts. For sure.
You don't think his head is that far up his ass?
No, I don't. I think
I honestly think he would have stuck with the same stories.
Oh, really?
Well, especially if you look at his original drafts that nobody really knows about of the sequel trilogy,
I still want to see
where it was going to develop into like the midichlorians and the microverse and all that shit. I could see it going the same way. I think really the only thing that might be different is him understanding why the original generation loved Star Wars so much and gone back to like that model of using physical stuff. Oh, kitty. Versus everything on a green screen.
Yeah.
Green screen.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. He's done some amazing work as a filmmaker. The original trilogy, he did Indiana Jones, he did Willow. I mean, like, he's done some really amazing stuff, and then he's done some kind of not so great stuff like Indy 5 and the World War II film. It wasn't great. It was okay, but it wasn't great. So, but no one fires on all cylinders all the time. And
no,
of course not.
I'm definitely willing to throw him, a bone, understanding that, you made some films, some of them were better than others. And, I still want to see what because this all was his idea. The original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, I would love to see what his version of the sequel would have been. And I would have accepted it in the same way that I accepted the prequels. Just, this is your idea. This is your world. You created it. Wherever it goes is where you go. Whether I love it or buy it is another thing, but I'd still like to see where it went.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't trust you with a philosophical argument, because at some point you'd be like, well, that's where the logic is going, so I'm just going to agree with it.
No, I'm talking about fantasy films here. I'm not talking about fucking...
You're talking about baby, I love you, but you're done. All right, so
it's all the pussy you can handle.
No, you're talking about an inconsistent story, and you're just going with it because you want to.
No, because there's gaps that are leaps that are clear and concise. Like, you're refusing to accept the leaps because it's not shown on screen. And I'm accepting the leaps because I know that you can't tell every leap in this grand of a story over this long of a time frame in 3 2-hour films. And so I'm just like, okay, well then there's a logical leap here that they're not showing on screen that makes sense as a human being of experience that I can accept, that is going to fill in that gap. But if you don't make those choices,
no, I'm judging strictly what was on screen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. I agree with you there. But you're not making leaps. You're making up your own story. Where was the relationship building between Anakin and Padme?
That was the whole second movie.
Really?
That was the entire second movie.
Riding on a horse?
I mean, they just spent time.
Conversation. These bitches were picnicking. Like,
true.
But where was the philosophical struggle? Where was the drama? These fucking kids were, you know what it was? It was Romeo and Juliet gone retarded. And that play was bad enough.
I actually liked that play.
Of course you would. Goddamn out of here.
Come back.
Sorry, the cat. In and out. You know how it is.
We don't all have to agree on how we perceive these, but I do love hearing why people disagree on this very divisive prequel trilogy that I didn't learn was divisive until my adult years in life. I genuinely had no idea. Closing thoughts. I don't know, maybe whether, dealer's choice here. Closing thoughts on whether or not, you think that there's a way of redeeming it through extraneous story, or whether you just kind of just want to forget they ever happened. Like where do you land there, Cameron?
For me, so of course, I like them. I mean, they are what they are. The thing, as I was saying earlier, what really saved them for me and what made me appreciate them more is just the amount of story that's behind the scenes, like getting all the novels and all that stuff. That's what I feel Disney isn't doing right. Like, we had that with Star Wars originally. Anytime a movie came out or a new video game or anything like that, we got at least 2 or 3 novels from them. And with these 3 films, I mean, I've got 2 shelves full of books that are strictly just, that era of the saga.
Yeah.
And really that built everything up. That gave, fringe characters just huge broad storylines and made them important and made me want to watch the films again.
Nice.
So I think that's where it comes from me.
And where do you land it in?
No, I'm with Cameron. Back to God and creator thing. Leave it to the fans to fix a fuck up.
Yeah.
Even I know this is about the sequel trilogy.
Prequel.
I hated The Rise of Skywalker, but when I read the novel version of The Rise of Skywalker was phenomenal. It was great.
I still haven't been able to bring myself to read it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten through it yet.
Oh no, read it, because the comparison I like to use is the film is a summary of the novel.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they made the novel the movie, but the novel is just so in depth. It explains why this and where Kylo Ren was in the first 3 minutes of the movie, and how it connects to Revenge of the Sith and the prequels.
Huh.
Right. So the novel of Rise of Skywalker connects to the prequels in ways that I thought were brilliant. That it really did make it very full circle. Too bad the movie fucking failed at that, but whatever. Leave it to fans to fix a fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll have to check that out.
I was always so nervous to read it because that Last Jedi novelization, that was fucking worthless.
I didn't read the Last Jedi novelization, but I really liked the Last Jedi.
Ugh.
I did. I liked it.
Okay.
I was like, oh my god, you mean no more magical family bloodlines?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And what do you wait? Earlier in this conversation, someone mentioned, well, he never knew his father. The bitch was fucking Jesus. Like, what the? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It would have been more interesting. This should have tied into the sequel trilogy, where it was Darth Plagueis that created Anakin to destroy the Sith and tie into Sith mythology. Like, there were so many missed opportunities.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I agree.
And I blame Adam Campbell for this.
You know what? I can get behind that,
because too many people
Wait a second.
Well, that's the way George Lucas wanted it. Well, fuck George Lucas.
Wow. I think that's a good place to end it.
I'm mad. You don't take a good story. It was like, I'm a huge Saw fan. Like, I'm a huge Saw fanatic.
Apparently.
When I saw the movie Jigsaw that came out a few years ago, I went, like, the day it came out, first show of the day. There was probably only 25 people in the theater, all diehard Saw fans. And we walked out of the theater and we were like, oh God, that was terrible. Because it just fucked up the whole... It didn't make any sense with the rest of the story. That's how I felt about the prequels. I was like, I was expecting a story about how someone who was important to the Jedi, because we get that much in The New Hope, that he was a great Jedi warrior, not a chosen one, friend, but a great Jedi warrior who was very important.
Best pilot in the galaxy.
And we get a whiny little... we get a fucking gay go-go boy who can't stop bitching about how his pretty ass isn't getting enough attention. Hey, go to a fucking bathhouse like the rest of us.
That's a good place to end it.
I was going to say, I don't think there's any better way to end this episode.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time and spending the time talking with us about this film series that you hated so much. I actually did enjoy the time. I always love, talking with you, whether we agree or not on any given topic. I still think it's a lot of fun. And again, Cameron, you already mentioned it. We love Star Wars so much that we fucking hate it. That's what fans are like with this type of thing. This is how we land on it. And especially, I don't know why, but Star Wars seems to be an especially crazy bunch of fans compared to other fan groups.
It's insane. Like, you look at like anime nerds and shit. Like, if they don't like something, they just don't fucking care about it.
Yeah.
Trekkies, same way. Oh, I don't like that generation. Oh, I don't like the new ones. Don't even talk about it. Us, we're just like, I hate everything except for this one book.
Yeah, we got.
Well, I think for Star Wars, because it's such a generational thing. I mean, 3 or 4 generations over 3 trilogies, and then every trilogy series has been groundbreaking when it came to filmmaking. Whether we like those trilogies or not, they were groundbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
The prequels advanced CGI incredibly. But and with Star Trek, it was TV iterations that came every decade or so. Star Wars was, you had a trilogy over 10 years?
Yeah, almost.
And then you had the prequel almost 30 years later? And the sequel trilogy 20 years later? So I think that's why fans get so... It's just this long gap and these hopes and these dreams, and then all the fanfic. Everyone's like, oh, I hope they steal my idea.
Yeah, and I think that's the endearing part of Star Wars, is that even if you get super pissed off and you like throw your fist in the air, you're still going to end up watching the other ones. You're still going to come around. It may take you a little longer, but you'll come around.
Every version of it that comes out begrudgingly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well,
I'll never watch the prequels again.
That's all right.
You know what? Thank you for watching it for us.
Yes.
I watched my Darth Plagueis scene and I'm good. Like, that's all I need.
That's all you watch.
You really got to read the novel, man.
I'm on it. I'm like, thanks for the tip.
All right. Well, and thank you everyone for tuning in live. If you tune in live, and no one threw up any comments in the chat, so apparently you agree with everything all of us have said. So thanks.
Makes sense.
Yeah. They just agree with me and Cameron.
They're just Adam. Like the whole time. Does anyone agree with me? Papa, can you hear me? Yentl this shit. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, may the force be with you, everyone.
No.